A lot of small business owners are really down there. They're picketing. They're out in front trying to let the Supreme Court and people know how it affects their small businesses and the costs there. So tell us how it's affecting them.
Well, they're feeling that they're going to have to set aside money for their own health insurance, and they don't want to feel that they have to be pressured to do that, and that digs into the cost of running a business. Their personal income is very tied to the business. It's together. So for the owners, that's an expense that they don't necessarily have to pay right now, and business is tough, especially when you're at that small level. So they see this as an intrusion on their rights.
Yeah, Sarah, it sounds like a 1%, 99% argument, because basically what you've got is small business owners saying, I want to keep more of I want to keep more of the business's income, and I'll leave it to you, the employee, to have to come out of pocket for your health care costs.
And for their own. They may forgo it themselves.
Yeah.
So they don't want to be in that position. They want to be able to control whether or not they provide health benefits to their employees. And right now premiums are very high, and they have been for quite some time. And we're not sure what the law will do as far as premium goes. So a lot of business owners feel it's unfair, but basically it comes down to this principle of being told you have to purchase insurance, and they feel they shouldn't have to do that, and they need to decide what they're going to spend their money on, what goes toward the business and what doesn't. And so it's very much a principal issue.
And it's a very contentious day at the Supreme Court yesterday. Obviously, this continues on today. And in your piece, you mentioned that there, as part of this lobby that is going up in front of the Supreme Court, there are some small business owners who are embracing the idea of this law. So tell us about their side and why they think that might help their small business.
Well, they see it as an opportunity to be more competitive with other employers that provide health insurance. They feel that if it's more of a level playing field. If everybody can afford health insurance and if everybody has to get it, it's no longer an issue of, well, which employer has it. So as far as attracting and retaining talent, they see that as an advantage. And they do believe in some cases that premiums will go down, and that'll be, for those that provide it, it'll be more affordable. But that's a big question mark.
Well, Sarah, in your story you mentioned that this organization, the National Federation of Independent Businesses, is on the hook for about $2.8 million in costs that it's incurred already for this campaign. But more than half of that has come from contributions. Is this genuinely a small business initiative if they're paying less than half of the costs associated with their campaign?
Well, the organization itself, the average member has only somewhere between 10 and 15 employees, so they're representing small businesses. That's what they do as an association. So a lot of their monies is donated to them by small business owners and also other groups and interests that want to see this law taken down. But generally speaking, the Federation of Independent Business, that's their role. Their role is to represent small business. They lobby on behalf of small business on many, many issues, not just this one, although this is certainly their biggest undertaking.
And we know this, the healthcare law is scheduled to go into effect in 2014. Are they making plans right now, the small business owners that you talk to? Obviously, they don't know how this will come down. We'll hear later in the summer how the Supreme Court will rule on this. But what are small businesses doing right now in anticipation?
Well, for example, let's take Mary Brown, which is one of the plaintiffs in the case. She said that setting aside money for health care in anticipation of 2014 is part of what's put her out of business. And other owners have said that too. If I set aside money for my health care knowing that in a couple years I'm going to have to pay it, I won't be able to put that money toward equipment or toward hiring employees or whatever the case may be. So they're already thinking ahead of how they can set aside that money, and that's where the problem is coming into play.
And there's something wrong with the fact that healthcare costs will put a business out of business. Yeah. I mean, a bigger conversation than just this personal mandate requirement is how expensive it is right now for any business really to cover healthcare costs.
Yeah, and the current structure obviously is just conflating costs all across the board.